Random House Audio presents The Sun by Joe Nesbo. Translated from the Norwegian by Charlotte Barsland. Read for you by Gildart Jackson. And he will come again to judge the living and the dead. Part 1. Chapter 1. Rover kept his eyes on the white-painted concrete floor in the 11-square-meter prison cell. He bit down on the slightly too long gold front tooth in his lower jaw. He had reached the hardest part of his confession. The only sound in the cell was his nails scratching the Madonna tattoo on his forearm. The boy, sitting cross-legged on the bed opposite him, had remained silent ever since Rover had entered. He had merely nodded and smiled his blissful Buddha smile, his gaze fixed at a point on Rover's forehead. People called the boy Sonny and said that he had killed 2 people as a teenager, that his father had been a corrupt police officer, and that Sonny had healing hands. It was hard to see if the boy was listening. His green eyes and most of his face were hidden behind his long, matted hair. But that didn't matter. Rover just wanted his sins forgiven and to receive Sonny's distinctive blessing so that tomorrow he could walk out of Staten maximum security prison with the feeling of being a truly cleansed man. Not that Rover was religious, but it could do no harm when he intended to change, to give going straight a real try. Rover took a deep breath. I think she was from Belarus. Minsk is in Belarus, isn't it? Rover looked up quickly, but the boy made no reply. Nestor had nicknamed her Minsk, Rover said. He told me to shoot her. The obvious advantage of confessing to someone whose brain was fried was that no name and incident would stick. It was like talking to yourself. This might explain why inmates at Staten preferred this guy to the chaplain or the psychologist. Nestor kept her and 8 other girls in a cage down in Enehaugen. East Europeans and Asians, young, teenagers. At least, I hope they were as old as that. But Minsk was older, stronger. She escaped. Got as far as Turyan Park before Nestor's dog caught her. One of those Argentine mastiffs. Know what I'm talking about? The boy's eyes never moved, but he raised his hand, found his beard. He started to comb it slowly with his fingers. The sleeve of his filthy, oversized shirt slipped down and revealed scabs and needle marks. Rover went on. Bloody big albino dogs. Kills anything its owner points at. And quite a lot he doesn't. Banned in Norway, course. A guy out in Ralingen got some from the Czech Republic, breeds them and registers them as white boxers. Me and Nestor went there to buy one when it was a pup. It cost more than 50 grand in cash. The puppy was so cute you wouldn't ever think it. Rover stopped. He knew he was only talking about the dog to put off the inevitable. Anyway. Rover looked at the tattoo on his other forearm, a cathedral with 2 spires, one for each sentence he had served, neither of which had anything to do with today's confession. He used to supply guns to a biker gang and modify some of them in his workshop. He was good at it. Too good. So good that he couldn't remain below the radar forever, and he was caught. And so good that while serving his first sentence, Nestor had taken him under his wing. Nestor had made sure he owned him, so that from then on only Nestor would get his hands on the best guns, rather than the biker gang or any other rivals. He had paid him more for a few months' work than Rover could ever hope to earn in a lifetime in his workshop fixing motorbikes, but Nestor had demanded a lot in return. Too much. She was lying in the bushes, blood everywhere. She just lay there, dead still, staring up at us. The dog had taken a chunk out of her face. You could see straight to the teeth. Rover grimaced. Get to the point. Nestor said it was time to teach them a lesson, show the other girls what would happen to them, and that Minsk was worthless to him now anyway, given the state of her face. Rover swallowed. So he told me to do it. Finish her off. That's how I'd prove my loyalty, you see. I had an old Ruger Mark II pistol that I'd done some work on, and I was going to do it. I really was. That wasn't the problem. Rover felt his throat tighten. He had thought about it so often, gone over those seconds during that night in Turyan Park, seeing the girl over and over again. Nestor and himself, taking the leading roles with the others as silent witnesses. Even the dog had been silent. He had thought about it perhaps 100 times, 1,000. And yet it wasn't until now, when he said the words out loud for the first time, that he realized that it hadn't been a dream, that it really had happened. Or rather, it was as if his body hadn't accepted it until now. That was why his stomach was churning. Rover breathed deeply through his nose to quell the nausea. But I couldn't do it, even though I knew she was gonna die. They had the dog at the ready, and I was thinking that I'd have preferred a bullet. But it was as if the trigger was locked in position. I just couldn't pull it. The young man seemed to be nodding faintly, either in response to what Rover was telling him, or to music only he could hear. Nestor said we didn't have all day. We were in a public park after all. So he took out a small, curved knife from a leg holster, stepped forward, grabbed her by the hair, pulled her up, and just seemed to swing the knife in front of her throat, as if gutting a fish. Blood spurted out 3, 4 times, then she was empty. But do you know what I remember most of all? The dog. How it started howling at the sight of all that blood. Rover leaned forward in the chair with his elbows on his knees. He covered his ears with his hands and rocked back and forth. And I did nothing. I just stood there, looking on. I did fuck all. While they wrapped her in a blanket and carried her to the car, I just watched. We drove her to the woods, to Östmarksätra, lifted her out and rolled her down the slope towards Ulsruddsvanet. Lots of people take their dogs for walks there, so she was found the next day. The point was, Nestor wanted her to be found. Do you get me? He wanted pictures in the papers of what had happened to her, so he could show them to the other girls. Rover removed his hands from his ears. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I had nightmares. The girl with the missing cheeks smiled at me and bared all her teeth. So I went to see Nestor and told him I wanted out. Said I'd had enough of filing down Uzis and Glocks, that I wanted to go back to fixing motorbikes. Live a quiet life, not worry about the cops the whole time. Nestor said that was okay. He'd probably sussed that I didn't have it in me to be a tough guy. But he made it very clear what would happen to me if I talked. I thought we were sorted. I turned down every job I was offered, even though I still had some decent Uzis lying around. But I kept thinking that something was brewing, that I would be bumped off. So I was almost relieved when the cops came and I got put away. I thought I'd be safer in prison. They got me on an old case. I was only an accessory, but they had arrested 2 guys who both said that I'd supplied them with weapons. I confessed to it on the spot. Rover laughed hard. He started to cough. He leaned back in his chair. In 18 hours, I'm getting out of this place. Haven't got a clue what's waiting for me on the outside. But I know that Nestor knows I'm coming out, even though I'm being released 4 weeks early. He knows everything that goes on in here, and with the police, I'm sure of it. He has eyes and ears everywhere. So what I'm thinking is, if he wanted me dead, he might as well have me killed in here rather than wait for me to get out. What do you think? Rover waited. Silence. The boy didn't look as if he thought anything at all. What if...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?